If it's country or industry, what Donald Trump announces tonight could represent the most punitive trade restrictions the US has announced in 100 years. You'd have to go back all the way to the Smoot-Hawley Act of 1930 to see anything similar. Back then, US lawmakers were trying to protect American farmers, but instead they raised prices for US consumers, created anxiety in the stock market, and intensified the Great Depression.
So what happens in Britain with the government pretty much ruling out retaliation?
As Gary was saying, look, the UK is a trading nation. At the moment, more than two-thirds of our GDP is actually trade. And what the OBR said very distinctly last week was that if you had the worst-case scenario, where you get these 20% tariffs, well, almost 0.5% will be knocked off the UK economy. But if the British government retaliates, it's even worse. If we go after Boeing, Heinz, Kellogg's, then prices for UK consumers will edge up and the impacts will be even worse, wiping off nearly a percentage point from growth. So that is why, as Gary was saying, you're seeing the UK government act relatively passively. But all of this, Krish, is about physical goods, which is what President Trump is obsessed with, which is strange because actually the US economy has transformed from a manufacturing nation to a services superpower.
So it's services where it would make sense to retaliate?
Well, I think that's what you're starting to hear about. Maybe that's the EU kind of baring its teeth ahead of a deal. You can see that the EU imports 774 billion euros from the US, but more than half of that is services. Google, Facebook, Amazon, these companies have had monopolies for over 2 decades.
Finally, what about Tesla?
Oh, it's rather interesting, isn't it? Because they could be in the firing line for very explicit tariffs. The EU is very good at rule tweaking, as Britain well knows, and Tesla could see tariffs raised. You know, Elon Musk has seen its Tesla share price crash 40% since its peak. It went down today after sales were down 13% compared to last year. Then miraculously, Krish, the share price seemed to recover as those rumors started to emerge that Elon Musk was leaving the White House. And that shows you that sometimes economics and politics just don't mix.